I'm Josh Evans, and I love to help businesses build the right culture within their organizations so they can be more profitable. Do you want more engaged employees? Do you want your company to be more productive? Well, I'm going to show you how to do that. And I'm going to share with you the tools that I've used with hundreds of companies varying in size from 60,000 person conglomerates down to 5-person teams. So get ready and join me so we can build the right culture for your business.
Hey, good morning. I'm Joshua M. Evans, and welcome back to my show. I'm so excited to have you here, and I'm just honored that you came and listened. So, today's kind of an interesting day today. And if you're watching, I don't know if you're watching the video, if you're just listening to this on the podcast, but let me explain something. I look a bit casual today. I'm wearing a t-shirt that's got these atoms and neutrons and electrons, and I'm sure somebody who's a chemist will correct me, circling around this shirt. And it says, "Never trust atoms, they make up everything." Now, the reason I'm wearing a t-shirt today, and I love wearing t-shirts, but the reason I'm wearing a t-shirt today on my podcast is because this shirt was given to me by a client of mine. And it's a client that I not only really appreciate and enjoy, I've been watching them go through some phenomenal changes. A couple of years ago, they got a new president at their company, and he's taken it upon himself to do these amazing radical differences from how the company had been run for the past 30 years before that. And it's phenomenal to watch the progression and the evolution of not just him and the company itself, but his entire team. And so I was thinking about it, and it really is amazing because I saw this shirt this morning. I was like, you know what? It's a soft t-shirt. I'm going to wear this shirt, in support of this client. And I was thinking about it, and what is it that makes a huge difference? Because there's a lot of really good leaders out there at organizations. But what's that big difference that takes a leader that's a good leader and makes them a great leader? And the more I kind of turn this over in my head, I really figured out there's a single defining factor, a single differentiator between a very good, effective leader or manager and the best leaders out there. And the more I thought about it, the more I realized the best leaders truly care. Now, I don't want you to get the impression that I think that good leaders don't care about their teams. Of course they care about their teams. Of course they care about the business. I'm talking beyond the service level, caring about your employees enough to where they get their results done, or maintaining, the work levels that they have, caring about productivity, caring about keeping your team's homeostasis going. No, I mean much deeper than that. I mean the best leaders out there truly care about their team members individually. They truly care about their team members individually. Let me give you an example. Several years ago, I was working for an organization, and we had a phenomenal leader at this organization. And he made it one of his habits, I'll call it a habit, but he intentionally, every week, would pick somebody on our team. We were a small team of like 4 or 5 people, but he would take one-on-one time with that leader to either go get a coffee or go get lunch or whatever it might be, an informal meeting with this particular, I'll call him a leader because he was more than a manager. At the time, he was the country manager. But it was phenomenal because he would ask you questions. He wanted to know more about you. He wanted to know how you worked, how you thought, your process went. And I was in a sales role at the time, and so he wanted to know more about my personality, more about my intuition behind these events that we're trying to go through and how we're trying to build a company. And it was all in an effort to get to know me, because he knew that he would be a better leader. He would be able to manage the team better if he knew our individual dispositions, right? Our natural bents. Because, some of us, like myself, we're very optimistic, right? And so we get these numbers for where we think our organization is going to be. And I predict these huge numbers for what I think is going to happen, what I can accomplish. And so I'm always on the positive side. Now, there's other people at our organization. I'm not going to say they sandbag their sales, but they would be a lot more withheld, right? Or a lot more cautious or conservative with their estimates. And then they would beat their number, right? And so he needed to know these sorts of things so that he could have a realistic impression of what was going on in the organization. And beyond that, because he knew us so well, if there was some sort of trouble going on, he could tell early on. And he could pull us up, hey, what's going on? Is something up? Is something going on? Is there something wrong with your clients? Something wrong with your family? What's up? And he genuinely wanted to know, because he knew that caring about his team, truly caring about it. I don't just mean caring that they're able to be productive that day. I mean truly caring about what's going on in their lives on a day-to-day basis, like really being part of it. Because at the end of the day, a good team is a family. You spend so much time with them. and you do so much work together, and your wins are together, your triumphs and your tribulations are together, that if you don't care about them, then you're mediocre at best. Nevertheless, this particular manager, when something would go awry, he would make an effort just to one-on-one, like approach, hey, what's going on? How can I help the situation? Is there anything I can do? Is there something else going on? And so I remember particularly one of the people on our team, his dad was having some health problems, and he was having a hard time with it. And he didn't say anything to any of us. I noticed there was something a little off, but I didn't want to broach the subject because, the last thing you want to, and I was one of the newer guys there, the last thing you want to do is like upset the apple cart or to get in the way or to whatever. And so it's like, okay, well, Jim's doing okay. We'll just let him be there. And the person that was leading our team at the time, I watched him go and spend time with Jim and start talking with him, stuff like that. And then he left for the afternoon. Jim left for the afternoon, and we had our team meeting, around midday. And our manager came in, our leader came in, and he goes, guys, I just want you to know Jim's going through a hard time with his family right now. His father's having a lot of health problems, and he felt like he needed to stay here because we're working on this project. I told him that we'd pick up the slack. Is that all right with everybody? And we're like, well, of course. I wish we had known that. Of course we'll pick up the slack so we can go spend time with his father. His father ended up passing, and he was so thankful for the time he got to go spend with him. And he felt such a loyalty to our group and to the project that he was working on that he didn't want to leave. But because this manager truly cared, because this manager took the time to be with him and to talk with him, and that he actually cared about him, not just the results of the company, but cared about the employee itself, it made all of us realize how important and how essential that sort of a thing was to our entire organization. That's what made it such a cool company to work for, is because the people actually cared. See, and that's the difference between a lot of people, right? A lot of companies, like they have bereavement rules and policies, and they'll let you take mental health days and do these sorts of things. But it's not done on a one-on-one basis, right? You have to send in approval, right? And of course it's going to get approved. But it's not proactive. This manager approached the guy and goes, hey, something's going on, Jim. What's up, man? What's wrong? And he just wanted to have a conversation. We found out what was wrong. He's like, you need to leave for the day, man. You need to go spend time with your father. You need to go be at the hospital with him. And it's that depth of caring that I think makes the difference between a good manager and a great manager. A good manager, of course, they would let most managers, of course, they would let an employee go visit their father in the hospital. But a great manager knows something's off, will approach the employee, will talk to them, knows them well enough to know if there's some kind of weird shift in their personality or in whatever. Because they know that if you care about an employee, they're going to care about you. They're going to be more loyal. And so the reason I shared that story is because I realized that particular leader, he was one of the best leaders I've ever worked for. Because I knew, it wasn't a question of mine, he actually cared about me. He knew my wife's name, right? He knew my dog's name. I didn't have kids at the time, otherwise he probably would have known their names. And heck, he knows their names now, because we still talk. We developed such a relationship that I still talk with him. I know his wife as well. See, that leader that I worked for was he wasn't only there at the office, he was there all the time. Like, even after I left that company, we'd still text. We'd still send messages to each other. It's because he developed this relationship, because he actually cared. And when I left that company, of course he was sad that I left, but he was so happy that I was moving on to something else that excited me. That's the difference. That's the big difference. The best leaders truly care. So, okay, I'm sure you know what you're thinking. Like, Josh, look, I care about my team. Don't say that I don't care. I think I'm a pretty great manager because, I know all my team's names and I know their kids and their wives' names. I think that's good. Well, let me ask you this. Are you proactively approaching them for personal conversations, for personal time? Because if I'm going to be honest, right, I know there's people that I've worked with, that I've worked for, and that have worked for me in all different gambits that I would want to spend personal time with. There's people that I've had to report to that I would never want to have to spend any of my personal. I don't want to waste my time with that person. Yes, within a business environment, yes, we can talk about this or that or these new clients, or we can talk about our marketing campaign. We can talk about those sorts of things. But those particular managers that I reported to, I did not want to spend. If they go, hey, let's go get lunch, like, oh, I can't today, I'm busy. I would make up excuses because I don't want to develop that relationship because I knew that they weren't going to care. They just wanted to talk about business. They just wanted to make sure that I was loyal to them, or they were doing some sort of political power play internally. That's it. That's what they were doing. And I knew it. It's blatant. Your team can feel the depth of your caring for them. Ooh, I like that. Let's repeat that again. Your team can feel the depth of your emotional investment in them. And that's what it is. When I talk about truly caring, it's the emotional investment that somebody in a leadership role puts within their team. And that's why when the best managers, that's why it hurts them emotionally and psychologically, not just monetarily, when they lose team members because they put time and investment and emotion into these people. And they have to watch them kind of leave the nest. The best leaders truly care. They do. So if you think you're one of the best leaders, here's the thing, you're probably not. I know it sounds really mean to say it like that, but the ones that are the best, they don't realize they're that good. That's just who they are. That's just who they've developed. They feel like they don't do enough. That's what it is. The best managers don't realize their depth, their level of engagement with their team, their depth of emotional investment in their team until there's somebody leaves their team. And then it hurts. I mean, just like some of the best parents, I know they're like just phenomenal parents. They're constantly questioning themselves. Am I doing this correctly? How should I do that? They're always trying to better themselves, and they're always trying to positively impact their children. The best managers are the same way. They're questioning themselves and their leadership tactics and how they're working with their team. And it's so funny because the people that are the best at it don't realize they're the best at it. It's the ones that go, well, I'm one of the best managers ever. It's that cockiness, that arrogance that automatically tells me you're not that good of a leader. So if you think you're one of the best leaders out there, you can probably do a little bit of improvement. I know that I'm a terrible leader. I'm a horrible manager. I know that. I know that about myself, but I'm constantly working to be better, especially with the people that I bring on into my organization that I work with. You have to trust. You have to care. You actually have to put in that sort of an effort. It's not enough to have just an MBA. It's not. It's not enough to have years of experience as a manager. You actually need to care. The best leaders truly care. So let me give you just a couple of quick tips, right? Maybe you could use a refresher on how to start caring about your team. Maybe this is stuff you already know. Hopefully it is. That'd be great. Or maybe this will help you when you develop into a leadership role, or maybe it'll help you manage upward to somebody that's leading you and your team, right? So first, and this is super essential, get to know your employees. And I don't mean get to know their disc style. I don't mean get to know their personality type. I don't mean get to know when they're lying. I mean get to know them on a very personal level. Spend personal time with them. And I'm not saying you have to do like weekend barbecues individually with each team member because that would be kind of weird. I'm not saying take them to the pool. What I'm saying is with your team members, you need to spend personal time, right? Go out in a non-traditional location. Go get coffee somewhere nonchalantly, right? Not to talk about business, just to hang out. And let them know, hey, look, let's go get a casual coffee or lunch or something like that. And try not to talk about business. Getting to know them will give you not only perspective into their life, it'll help you to understand. Here's the thing. The second we spend some time to meet somebody, to understand somebody, to put a little bit of effort into it, we're going to start liking them more. Because we're going to have a bearing for where they're coming from. So spend the time. Get to know your employees. Spend that personal time with them. I had a boss one time. He was phenomenal. Another great leader. One of the top couple of people that I've ever reported to. Right? I actually love him. Like he's a phenomenal leader. And that man is amazing. I love that man. He taught me so much. And we used to get coffee almost every other day. We would walk to a coffee shop to go get coffee. And it was just banter, just conversation. We got to know each other really well. And eventually, when we parted ways and we don't work at the same organization, it's very amiable. I still love that guy. He's phenomenal, right? I still see him occasionally. We go get lunch just for fun and get to talk about family and life and all kinds of stuff. But it's because he developed that personal relationship. He spent that quality time I cared so much. I worked so much harder because I knew that person was there and that person actually cared. I knew that he would do what's best for me, not what's best for the company, which sounds crazy to say, especially for a manager in that sort of position, right? Because he was an executive vice president when I was reporting to him. But I knew he cared more about me. He would take the time to say, like, Josh, I know you're thinking about doing this within the organization. You might want to try it this way. I know you think that's the right way, but maybe try it this way. That might be better for you. And those little conversations meant so much more because he had the emotional investment in me. Think about that, right? All right, the next thing you can do, right, is you have to nurture your employees, but you have to do it as individuals. You nurture them as individuals, right? Ask yourself, how do they want to be nurtured? How does this individual, because everybody's a little bit different. Some people need praise all the time. Some people need some sort of big comment in front of a group of people. I don't know, but getting to know your team will help you understand that. But you need to nurture them as individuals, not as a team, because we do a lot of team building. We do nurturing as teams, right? We do these team meetings on a weekly basis. We bring everybody together. We have goals, all those sorts of things. But what I'm saying is you have to nurture the individual. Some people like when their boss pops in by their office and just kind of chit chats with them. Some people don't. In fact, we had this organization, and it was a well-known fact that the CEO of our organization had walked in to one of the salespeople's offices and like approached him to talk to him about a deal and just shoot the shit with him and just kind of chat with him and just, hey, what's going on with this deal? Just want to find out. And this employee, this salesperson, did not like to communicate that way, and he was so nervous and so worried as he felt like he's being grilled. And bless the CEO's heart, he was just trying to. He knew this is something they had in common, a goal that they had in common. He just wanted to chat about it. This employee wasn't having this, so the CEO came in, just starts asking him some random nonchalant questions, and this person takes it as like some sort of attack, locks up his knees, and then passes out in front of the CEO. Just boom, bam, to the floor. And so the CEO obviously is just, oh my goodness, I just killed the salesperson. Just by asking him questions. Got out of there. They called the ambulance. They picked him. The guy was fine. It wasn't like a panic attack. He had locked his knees and he had been nervous. And so he ended up being fine. But this story has followed both of them around, right? They're not even at the same company anymore, but I'm not going to say who it is or what it is. But so the poor CEO, he'll like peek his head in and he goes, hey, not trying to make anybody pass out. Just wanted to stop by. Let me know when you want to talk about this. And so he's now very cautious about the way he approaches people. And this other person, bless his heart too, the person that actually passed out, because it's a piece of his reputation that follows him around. I heard the story about him before I ever met him. That's how funny it is, right? It's just funny. So nurture them as individuals. Some people like you to come in and grill them about what's going on because it gives them a chance to think very abstractly and very quickly and get on their feet about it. Other people don't do well in those situations. They pass out, right? Obviously, some people do. Anyway, so if you're going to really care about your team, you have to nurture them individually, not just as a group. You can't manage everybody the same way. Anybody that's ever spent more than one day as a manager will tell you can't manage everybody the exact same way. Right? So we go to the common denominator, right? Which is semi hands-on, but not really hands-on. No, you have to nurture people the way they need to be nurtured. Some people need their hand held all the time. Some people find it offensive that you think that they need that. So just know that going into it, right? I mean, the last thing I would do, right, is be open with your team. Be open with your team. I think there's a mystique and kind of a quirky interest to stuff that's clandestine, right? Or behind the scenes or black projects. But it's not. Your team doesn't respect that. They don't appreciate that. They want you to be open. And let's go beyond. It's not just work stuff, right? You need to be open about yourself. If something's going on in your life that's causing you to manage differently or to work differently, you need to tell your team. If you're getting if you're in an executive level or a VP level and you're getting pressure from the board to do something or to make something happen, share that with your team, because they're going to be the ones that help you make it. You can't just go in there, this is the things that we need to get done right now. These are the numbers we need to make. We've adjusted everything. Go do it. No, just like Simon Sinek says, it's why, right? Tell them why. You got to be open. The more open you are with them, the more open they're going to be with you. And you don't have these big projects that don't get finished because, nobody wanted to tell you, right? The more open you are with your team, the more open they're going to be with you. And they'll tell you if, you're not wearing a coat, right? What is it, that invisible coat? I forgot the name of the story. But it's the one where, the king, nobody wants to tell him that he's naked. And so a little kid has to come and be like, you're not wearing anything, right? And I think it's funny how often we allow ourselves to stay in these little bubbles of secrecy. And then we pop out to demand stuff from other people, or to give direction on something, or to kind of set a goal. And then we pop back into our little thing, and we are not open enough to where people can take on that challenge with us. Right. And so instead we just try to delegate the challenge instead of bring people into the challenge. Yeah, I like that kind of an idea. And instead of just popping out and delegating tasks behind a challenge, bring everybody in your team into this challenge. Right? What are we dealing with? What is the certain situation that we're having to work on right now? And what do y'all think we can fix it? Because then you get outside perspectives. Being open with your team is something that pays huge dividends, because the second you're open with them, they're going to want to be open, right? People reciprocate like that, right? So as I said before, the best leaders truly care, deeply, emotionally invest in every single one of their team members. That's what they do. So those things, again, real quick, right, is first, get to know your employees on a personal level. Second, individually nurture them as individuals. And the third thing is be open. Just be open with them. So, I had a manager recently at one of these organizations I was trained at. He came up to me and he was talking about how he's like, I've developed a pretty good team and they work fairly independently, but what do I need to do to motivate them continually? And that's kind of a weird question, because I don't necessarily think that an individual can motivate another individual. I know it sounds crazy. I'm called a motivational speaker, and how can one person motivate another person? No, I think you can reawaken somebody else's motivation, but people have to motivate themselves. And so when this question gets asked to me, I have to dig a little bit deeper. And so he asked again, he's like, Josh, my team, they're working fairly independently, they're doing a good job, but how do I keep them motivated? I was like, well, are you trying to motivate them to work harder? Are you trying to keep them focused on what they're doing? What is the situation? He said, well, we have these projects and they happen very quickly, right? And there's intense focus, right? And then as soon as those projects go, another project will show up. And if they're still thinking about this project, they haven't moved on to the next one. And I'm just trying to get them, to transition more quickly into the next project and to move on to that. And so immediately I started thinking, okay, it's not motivation, right? It's helping them transition. And so we started talking about it. And I was like, wait a second. Have you told your employees about this? Have you been open about what you see, how they kind of they stay focused on it? He's like, yeah. He's like, because they'll finish these projects and they'll send them off, and we have a technical team that follows them, right, once these projects are done, to make sure everything gets implemented correctly. But they're still watching. The people that built these projects, that finished these things, are still kind of holding on to their baby. It's like, well, have you talked to them about that? He's like, well, no. It's just something I've noticed. It's like, well, why on earth wouldn't you bring that up? Because here's what I saw, right? And what he could have saw if he'd spent a little bit more time is he's probably talking about one or two of his team members. He's probably not talking about the entire team, but there's probably a couple of team members that have problems releasing their projects, right? I understand that. I feel the same way on some of the projects that I do, especially if you've invested time and emotion in this project and then you send that off. But what this leader didn't realize, right, this manager didn't realize that this team, is that his team had put a lot of themselves into this project, and they didn't want to let go of it before sending it. See, the manager was looking at it as I need them to be more productive. I need them to get on to the next project sooner after they finish, right? Not spend time dwelling on the loss of that project, right, or giving up that project. But what he should have been doing is not only being honest and open with them about what he needed from them and how he needed them to move on, he should have gotten to know them better so he can help his team transition to the next project more quickly. So my initial thoughts, and this is what I suggested, is you should go ask them why they feel like they have to hold on to it. Maybe it's because they want to make sure they do the right thing for the clients that went through the process of ordering these projects, right, or going through that entire process. Maybe they want to make sure that they're still serving them, which is a noble effort. But maybe you should have a better transition. Maybe bring on the person that's going to follow the technical person that's going to follow the project into implementation. Bring them into the situation sooner while it's being built. Right? Why not make that transition easier? Because your employees are obviously not wanting to just release it. So what if you make the handoff a lot more gradual, so that when it is time and the project leaves, you had a finite stopping point. Okay, good. Now they go to the next project. And he goes, oh, that's not a bad idea. I was like, well, here's the thing. You need to just ask them, talk to them, find out, right? You open up to them, get to know them individually. Don't gather them as a team and make some big edict like, hey, we're going to have a hard stop when you finish this project. Just don't look at it again. Don't do that. But get to know them, talk to them, find out why they feel that they need to keep their hands on it for a little bit longer. Maybe they had a transition go bad one time and they got reamed out by their previous manager. I don't know. But if you were to spend the time to find out with that, you're going to be able to alleviate that. And then once you're open with them about how you need them to move on because it's part of a much bigger scope, then you're going to be able to have that conversation from a place of understanding, right? Because you care. And so it's those sort of situations that I think all of us can take lessons from, right? So I don't know if he's implemented that yet, if he's started having these conversations. I'm actually meeting with that team again next week. And so maybe if I remember, I'll come back and tell you all about it. But I imagine if he spends the time to kind of talk to them and understand why his team feels the need to grasp onto their projects longer, if he can understand that, I think he'll find a way and learn the way to get them to transition sooner to the new projects. I'm hoping that happens. But let me back it all up, right? So for all of you listening out there, all of you right now that are listening and they're like, you know what? Maybe I'm not doing a good job of really facilitating what my team needs from me. Well, a lot of that can be alleviated if you just ask them, right? Be open. Use your words and your emotional intelligence to have a conversation. Have a conversation with them about what they're doing, what kind of drives them, what grinds their gears, what makes them more productive. And the second you understand what the best place and space, like mentally and physically, for them to work in is, the better you can facilitate that for them. Then your team will be more productive. It's not enough to go in and say, hey, y'all need to be more productive. You can learn about them. You can figure them out, right? So take a moment today, tomorrow, over the next few weeks, and have personal one-on-one meetings with your teams. Don't talk about work, right? But get to know them. The more you get to know them, the more you're going to understand them. And the more you understand them, the more effective your relationship will be. And the more effective you'll be as a leader. Anyway, once again, just remember, the best leaders, they truly care. Well, thank you all so much for joining me on my podcast. It's been a fun day. It's been kind of a crazy idea, right? And I'm really glad I'm wearing this Adam shirt for my client because it's very soft and it's nice. And you can't wear a button-down shirt every day, right? Anyway, thank you so much for joining me on my show. I hope you can join me again next week. If you want to find out a little bit more about me and my service and what I do, check out my website. It's joshuamevans.com. Or hit me up on any social media @EnthusiasticU. Have a great day, and we'll see you around.